Chief stops grand reception for Raila. Police have barred a grand reception planned for opposition leader Raila Odinga by supporters at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport tomorrow. Raila is set to return to the country after a 12-day tour of the United States. Earlier on this show, we are looking at another tweet by the Kenya police saying that a rally slated for today has also been banned. Yes, that tweet, if my director could help me with it, Kenya police, that a rally slated for today has also been banned because NEC, that's the National Examinations Council, has requested that no activity take place next to any examination center or school, and therefore Japheth Koome, the Nairobi County Commander, banned the NASA rally today. Yes, that's a tweet. Just a moment, that's a tweet. If I could read it, Nairobi Police County Commander states that no public processions or meetings will be allowed in the vicinity of schools. David Osiani, was there to be a planned rally at a school today?
Well, I understand the fear of the Jubilee government. It's not founded on nothing. Professor Nick Cheeseman, who's one of the greatest professors of politics, concentrating on African politics at Oxford University, penned a very interesting article over the weekend. He said the things such as has happened in Zimbabwe have a way of quickly getting around and moving fast. It starts and then people are emboldened, and for a moment they think, hang on a minute, we actually could end up liberating ourselves too. It is what happened with the Arab Springs. You know, currently you have the independent people of the Biafra in Nigeria, the southeastern part of Nigeria, who have felt secluded, clamoring for leaving the country. You have the southern Cameroon saying enough is enough, you know, you can't write laws and not even translate them into English. And so I think that's where their fear is based on. But they forget that on the 8th of October in 2012? Yes, 2012, yes. When President Uhuru Kenyatta was coming back from The Hague, no, 2013, Olelenku wrote a letter asking supporters to go to the airport and receive the president. What has suddenly happened? What is the fear? What has suddenly happened? That what sets of laws do we have? One for Raila and one for Uhuru? That's the Kenya we need to fix, where everyone, every law applies. It applies for Senator Mithika, it applies for Sam Atandi, it applies for Florence Kajuju, it applies for you, Fred Indimuli, and yours truly. That we have one set of rules and laws that are applicable to all. That when you falter one, you falter all. But when you want to show that others can get away with it, yet others cannot, then that's unfortunate. One, there's no rally in any school that I know of. And they have the freedom of assembly. The freedom of assembly in the Constitution does not limit you to when there are exams and when there are none, when there is Christmas and when there is not. It's a freedom of assembly, so long as you have respected the sacrosanct precincts of the schools and not gone into the schools. Kamkunji Grounds is not near any school I know of that's doing its exams. It's near a primary school which finished its exams a week ago. So let's be fair. Let NASA guys do what they want. Let them receive their leader without stifling them.
Florence, as a lawyer, do you think this move by the police is based on law? Because according to what David Osiani is saying, yeah, it appears the police are overstepping their mandate. Which school, for example, is next, which secondary school or exam center, because now we are looking at KCSE. There's only a primary school, I forget its name, but it's right next to Kamkunji Grounds. KCP ended.
Olympic.
Even if they decide to use Uhuru Park, there's no school around there.
There's none near the airport. Do you think it is even necessary
to ban a rally at this point?
First of all, I get the excitement of David and company because they imagine that what they have witnessed in Zimbabwe could...
No, I was quoting Professor Nick Cheeseman.
No, I can get his excitement, but you know, whatever he quotes must apply to what he says. And he's very excited about what has happened to Mugabe. Let me tell him that Kenya and Zimbabwe are totally different countries. Kenya has a constitution that we are bound by and that we follow. When it comes to the issue of their rallies and their reception of their king, I think it's okay the way they want to receive him. But then, the right to assembly, as per the constitution, does not mean interfering with other parties' rights. When they say that they're going to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, 1 million of them, I think that's what they're planning to do, what business are they going to disrupt? That is the business. Everybody is there. The airport is a security zone. So you can't tell us that you just go there, jump and sing, so that you are excited about...
He cited a case in point where Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto had a similar reception at the airport when they returned from The Hague. What do you say to that?
And it was by law, 8th of October 2013. You can Google.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't refuse that. But that was the president. That was the president.
So the president's supporters...
Who was being received that time.
So the president's supporters do not interfere with
what I know is that they had sought even police security and protection and management of the procession. The question is this: have the NASA people sought for that kind of protection and security, so that whenever they are receiving their person, they are able to manage the traffic? The number of people that are passing on that road, the number of people who must catch their flight, what are we saying about it? And then the issue of the examinations. Honestly, we know that exams are going on. Let us be able to understand what other people's needs are. I don't imagine that NASA only thinks that they are the people who are being denied their rights just because they have been told, maybe don't do this today, do it tomorrow. Yes. Really, it is extremely unfair, and I don't know whether that is the kind of country they would want to govern, if at all they would ever accede to power.
Yes, Senator Mithika Linturi, we are in a legal regime where no one needs to get a permit for a procession or a rally. You just need to notify the police. By this statement, which comes from the police, and this is signed by George Kinoti, Assistant Inspector General, he says the attention of the National Police Service has been drawn to the press reports to the effect that some politicians are mobilizing crowds to march Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Isn't this an admission by the police that they are aware that there will be this procession, that there will be such a rally, and therefore it is incumbent upon them as a police service to provide the kind of support that Mheshimiwa Kajuju is talking about?
Yeah, then we have to agree on certain things. Yes, that indeed the right to assembly, yes, is a guaranteed right in our constitution. And you also have to bear with certain safeguards that are still in the same constitution, so that even as you exercise or enjoy that right, then you do not interfere with the rights of other people. Remember Article 27, I think, talks about that it says that there is no right that cannot be limited. It depends on the reason for that limitation and for purposes that is intended to achieve. So, for example, if surely, right, marching or taking 1,000 people or 1 million people to Kenyatta JKIA, Kenyatta International Airport, will definitely interrupt or interfere with the free movement of the people in and out of the airport. And considering, for example, that NASA has not applied to the police for sufficient security, because even as we do these things, the police is supposed to guard us. It's supposed to provide us security. And that's why it's necessary to sit down and agree with them so that they are able to assess their forces and troops to see whether they are able to give you the security.
Is it a requirement to sit down with the police or just to notify them?
No. Let me tell you. You know, certain meetings would have certain requirements. 1 million people, you're required to sit down the police officer, the leadership. No, listen, let me explain my people. No.
The case cited by David Osiani.
That is the one I'm trying to explain. Yes. You have 1 million people at the airport. Sense must dictate that those people can one time or can be unruly. And for that matter, you may require some bit of security for these people. Two, you may even require to organize for St. John's ambulance for just cases of any emergencies. That's the reasoning. Yes. That is what I am trying to explain. But don't forget one thing. Don't forget one thing. And why I think the police must have behaved that way is that the culture, the history of the NASA brigade has behaved in a manner that shows that they are not adherents to the rule of law. They are not. Are you saying they are not civilized in terms in the way they? Are you saying that if it was Jubilee supporters meeting the president, yes, as they did back in 2013, that it would be different, that the police would not bar them and they shouldn't? Let me honestly tell you, I was not party to that meeting. that of 8th. I did not go to the airport to receive him. So I don't know how the airport was or what kind of communication there was then. So, and in the absence of that information, I'm not able to...
Okay, Senator. Sabatani, what do you say to that?
I think I understand where my friends are coming from, especially those from the Jubilee side. Since Kenyans rejected Uhuru Kenyatta on August, 8th of August, I think there's been a lot of uncomfortability within their ranks. But let me say that what the police is trying to do to appear to be stopping us from carrying out our activities today and tomorrow is really not going to happen, because we are going to conduct our activities.
So you'll proceed nonetheless?
Yes, and we have actually complied with the constitutional provisions. We have notified them. We have even told them the number of people who are going to be receiving His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, and so we expect them to come and give us security. Secondly, I do not think that there is more or a better legitimate action, because I saw the police saying that those who are going to enter the airport must be going there for a reason. So I do not think that there's a more better reason for anybody going to the airport to receive the people's president, because
receiving your leader is a reason. Now that we are with you, kindly share with us the itinerary, the plan for today, for example, if you're aware of it. What's happening today?
We are going to do a press conference at the airport at 12.
Today?
Yes, and then from there we'll go to a rally at Kamkunji. And that will be the end of today. Tomorrow.
Why a press briefing at the airport?
Yes, that's as far as we are the way we are planning our activities. We are not guided by anybody, by the police. We are not guided by the
I'm just asking what the rationale is of holding a press briefing at the airport.
We are doing at the airport because we are preparing the ground. That's the center of activities tomorrow.
Okay.
So we are going to there to do a press there, and from there we'll come for our rallies today at Kamkunji. And let it be clear that we are not interfering with the other citizens who are going on with their activities, like the exams and etc. We are simply going to converge and receive our president. And Jubilee should not be worried, because we are not going to State House to remove Uhuru Kenyatta after that.
No, Fred, I think there's something that needs to be corrected.
I need to say...
Yes, Samuel Mheshimiwa speaks about Kenyans rejecting the president on the 8th of August.
Yes.
I think they are always imagining very fertile things. After the judgment of on the 1st of September, we were asked to go back to the polls. The president agreed. The beneficiary of that judgment chickened out. So they cannot talk about rejection. He is believing that Raila is their president. They believe that they support this constitution. But if you ask him which power Raila would use to become the president today, as they go to receive him tomorrow, he can't tell you. We have the People's Assembly. We don't know where they're taking this People's Assembly. I would want to understand where the People's Assembly will end up to. So these are some of the imaginations that they have that cannot materialize into anything. But they're allowed to think.
Fred,
we allow them to think.
Fred, let me clarify to my sister, if she would like to confirm that Uhuru Kenyatta is not the people's president today, you will probably see that since his election on October 26th, nobody, no international leader, no country has congratulated him, except just a few dictators like him. So what we are saying is very simple, that as far as we are concerned, we have said in our county assemblies that we do not recognize Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay, that's a very different discussion.
About just trying to clarify to her that, just to the point that the Kenyans, I'm just trying to emphasize that the Kenyans have rejected Uhuru Kenyatta, and it is very clear.
I just need to clarify.
Yes,
let me clarify.
Let's have procession at the rally.
I just need to clarify here, and I expected Florence and I expected Senator Mithika Linturi to at least say, very honestly, as leaders, because this is what leadership is about. It's about creating laws and enforcing them. It's about obeying the Constitution. I expected them to be in concurrence with me to the extent that if at all Uhuru supporters were allowed in 2014 to come and, welcome their leader into the country, then NASA has every right to go and welcome their leader. However, I expected them to quip, as Florence was trying to quip but also running away from this entirely, that there ought to be order even as the supporters go. Remember on 8th of October when Olelenku wrote, it is Olelenku, the minister in charge of security, who invited Jubilee supporters. He was not even a politician. So why is it that now we want to subject NASA to go and ask for permission, whereas the police and the state, there is Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the acting CS for Interior, there is the PS, Karanja Kibicho, who can do a letter requesting the police, realizing this is a right of the NASA supporters, requesting the police to show up and ensure there is order without interfering with the rights of the people to assemble.
And this is not the first time this is happening. You mentioned that when President Uhuru Kenyatta was returning from The Hague. We do have another instance where, and it's quoted here on the Daily Nation, where CIA Senator James Orengo says that even President Daniel Arap Moi allowed processions to welcome then opposition Chief Kenneth Matiba from his London trip, and presidential candidate Mwai Kibaki from a British hospital following a near-fatal accident just before he was elected in the 2002 election. Yes, that is what is happening. We do not know what will happen today and tomorrow. But we need to wrap up the news review this morning. So, of course, I'll give you an opportunity for final remarks. Let's start with you, Florence.
Even before they complain, let them follow the proper channels. If you want to do a procession, if you want to welcome your king, go approach the right ministry and get the proper guidelines. And I believe the problem that the ministry would have, we've had peaceful demonstrations in court. But what we've been seeing on the Nairobi streets is people who have carrying stones and all manner of weaponry, purporting to have peaceful demonstrations. And they have attacked people and injured people. So we don't know what they would want to do tomorrow. Let them go to the police and plan on how they are going to receive Raila. Otherwise, let me say that in this country, we have undergone an electoral process. We are waiting the Supreme Court decision. Let us be able to accept whatever decision the judges come up with. Just like the president accepted the decision of the Supreme Court on the 1st of September. You cannot afford to be in contempt of court and then come here to accuse the president that he was rejected by Kenyans. Honestly, we know who can't afford to face Kenyans on the ballot box.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Florence. Senator, final remarks.
Let me say that this country requires each of us to go to our knees and pray and seek divine intervention on how we also address the matters that face the country at the moment. I may also want to end by saying that my friend Hatanti and his likes, honestly, we won't be trying to get ways and means of trying to liberate them. To liberate them, because I cannot understand a situation where power has been ceded to him by his electorate or is by voters to go to parliament and resolve issues that touch on their well-being as provided by Article 95 of the Constitution of Kenya, and then yet Atandi decides to receive control by remote or to be controlled remotely from Capitol Towers. That don't go to Bunge, go to the streets, and the person that is giving these directions is a person who has lost an election. So we require, really you people require to be more serious and to understand you have a serious responsibility to address the issues of your voters so that this country can really move on.
Thank you, Senator Bonatandi.
Let me start by saying that I have always said that Parliament, as presently constituted, does not have the capacity and capability to guide this country out of the present political crisis. That I want to repeat again, because it is controlled by forces outside that house. The executive, Jubilee executive, is controlling Parliament, so it cannot solve any problem. That is one. Two, the way forward for this country is for people to understand that we have a crisis, for Uhuru Kenyatta to realize that he does not have legitimacy to continue to be president of Kenya, and he cannot be president by force. He needs to be elected through a process where all Kenyans are agreeable and they all participate, and the outcome will legitimize his presidency. Therefore, he should not think that he is going to continue to be the president of Kenya. We want, as we have already suggested, that Kenya needs an interim government where everyone is going to be brought on board so that we can plan a free and credible election. I suspect that this is really the direction Zimbabwe is likely to take, so the country to move forward. So I think my final remark is that we are going to receive His Excellency Raila Odinga tomorrow, and Kenyans are coming from all walks of life, from Mombasa, from Siaya, my constituency. They are already coming everywhere, and it's going to be what I call an exodus of Kenyans coming to receive their leader.
Okay.
Yeah, and we do not want the police to interfere with our activities. They have no mandate to interfere with our movements tomorrow. Thank you.
Right, finally, David.
Whenever a people do not have recourse in the constitution and the laws stipulated in the country, and whenever it is seen that the laws seem to favor one section of the country and leave out the other, people resolve to different things as Atandi enlists. All right, some may be right, some may be wrong, but they are pushed to that point. So whereas we have had challenges, for example, with the peaceful demonstrations by NASA, Mheshimiwa Florence Kajuju understands that there is a day that the Jubilee team went to demonstrate against the judges, and we still had challenges and violence and people carrying crude weapons. It's a challenge of a nation. How to treat it is not to dismiss a country. And the Zimbabwean case makes for an example of how people get out of the constitution sometimes when they feel they have had enough. It is not a place where we want Kenya to get to. Mnangagwa has not gotten to become president by the constitution of Zimbabwe. The constitution does not allow that for him to rise to the top. But when he felt that his rights were violated, alongside many others, then you realize that even the supporters of Morgan Changirai, the MDC supporters, who've never been part of ZANU-PF, just wanted a relief. For them, anything that would be away from Mugabe would be fairer than having Mugabe there. I am hoping, and I'm optimistic, that we are able to look at Kenya for what it is, a country in a crisis whose parliament doesn't even have the substantive majority or the numbers to be able to make for quorum, and which stifles literally everything moving forward. If we continue to bury our heads in the sands, then we will end up with a situation where we would only but be sorry for our country. And this will take both the NASA political class like Mheshimiwa Tandi, and the Jubilee political class currently serving like Mheshimiwa Mithika Linturi, and many other good people out there who will call the president to sit back, reflect, and have a moment of introspection about where really this country needs to go. It's time we talked.
It's time we talked, and that's where we end. That's where we end the news review this morning on Power Breakfast with me, Fred Indimuli. My panelists this morning: Florence Kajuju, lawyer, former woman rep in Meru County; David Osiani, public policy expert; Mithika Linturi, the senator for Meru; and Sam Atandi, MP Alego Songa. My panelists this morning, thank you very much, lady and gentlemen, for your very well considered opinions this morning. Remember, Power Breakfast still continues up until 9 a.m. and that's a hashtag to use. Chef Ali Mandri in the house, cooking up some breakfast with Willis Raburu, so do stand by for that. Right now we take a break. From me, it's good morning.